Alright everyone, welcome back to Life After Duty. My name is Luna. To start off with credibility check, I have a master's degree in forensic linguistics with a BA degree in a double major of anthropology and linguistics, and I have served 6 years in the Air Force along with 1 deployment and overseas assignment. In addition to that, I am a fully certified EMT personnel. So with all the things that I'm saying today with my credential, I'm going to apply that to the current event that has been happening this week and up to the recent stuff that's been happening. So let's get to it. Last video I posted had this short narrative I written about this uniform versus community and my thoughts about it and what we should learn based on my credential stuff that I have. So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but there's certain stuff that I do want to highlight. So one of the early one that I do want to hit off today is going to be talking about that the cost of deploying for 60 days into LA back in June 2025. We're talking about any mobilization or deployment of any people or military-wise. All that gets funded by your money, your taxpayers' money. And honestly, for me, coming from both aspects of it, right? I used to wear the uniform, no longer I am, and I am a taxpayer on the outside of being military personnel and while I was serving. In addition to that, now I don't work for militaries, which puts me into this, I guess, unique circumstances where I have the wealth of many different aspects of it. But bottom line is, if we're going to talk about like $120 million, that's a significant amount of money. And what's frustrating is that in California, especially in Southern California, we are on a high alert for any types of dry wind equal or heat changing equal to the damn wildfires that we experienced earlier this year. So with that, taking that into the consideration, right, we're looking at 120 million. This is a significant number because it ties very similarly to one of Governor Newsom's 120 addition category bracket that he implemented. So it's not an easy money. And bottom line is, with this mobilization of the military troops, we're looking at honestly waste, fraud, and abuse, because once again, having that experience as recent as a couple years ago, I've been in these aspects of quick deployments. I've been trained in it. I've been part of these missions. So I kind of understand where we're going with this. But at the same time, the aspects of how the money is being utilized from the troops' perspective, it is literally free money for us, y'all. So in terms of that, you're seeing as a very much of a waste, fraud, and abuse of deploying unnecessary troop into that field just for what? Here, I write about, we hear relocation, but in that terminology, we can also be looking at it as incarceration. And for security, we're looking at the word control. And that is exactly what we are seeing with how the politician, or I say the government, is narrating their course of action right now is, oh, this is all for security, security, security. But in other words of that security, they are using euphemism of such so that it doesn't sound too harsh on the people not utilizing their brains to actually think about what is it that they're actually trying to do in the back end of it. And unfortunately, another news to that is that I have witnessed a lot of younger junior enlisted members go through this, and I have even seen these events with the junior officers as well. And that is the nature of the fact that we are currently serving, and that is the nature of the fact that the military has, in a sense, degraded. You're not getting people who are actually being out there, who are actually able to analyze the raw resources. So starting with that, we have this taxpayer money of 120, definitely fraud, waste, abuse, and we just covered here. Now, as we're looking into from June, July, August, we have articles that's been published within the Southern California saying, hey, we are continuously seeing increase or at least a steady presence of ICE conducting their ICE duties. So when we're saying raid, raid is a different euphemism that's being used, which goes back to the relocation. The purpose of ICE raids are to relocate those people, right? So relocation, also, what are they trying to do? Incarceration. So bottom line of all this on this slide, is it really necessary to have mobilization of military personnel? And honestly, the answer should be a no. And currently, in the bottom section here, this is as recent as September 4th, 2025, we have with this article stating that there are still 300 National Guards still in Los Angeles. And once again, LA is, as it mentioned, is the second largest city in the nation. So what are we doing? Like, the money that's being spent should be spent on elsewhere, as in like prepare for the fire that we're going to be expecting again in Southern California. As in, I don't know, even though it's a small chunk of percentage, that money can definitely help in the educational field. That money can definitely help in the healthcare field as well. So we just need somebody to come up and say, stop this shit, because this is ridiculous. But not done yet. We'll get into the meat and juice of all the fun things near the end. So let's continue with me. So here we go. As we go down, one of the big hitter was that DoD has approved to use the Navy station as a staging station for the military troops to, I guess, mobilize. And here in the my last video, I talk about staging operation. It's literally you're providing, in a eloquent simile comparison in English language will be, you're turning your mobilization, your troops into a Gestapo. It's a Gestapo tactic, because what are you guys doing with ICE? Well, knock, paper, van, silence. So that fourth step is like crucial, because that's literally what we have been seeing. There is literally news after news after news under different ethnicity that are constantly fighting this dumbass system that's happening right now. And yeah, I honestly want this to stop. And then going down further, now we're looking at Chicago, because Chicago is going to be, I believe, to be one of their testing area, where if the government is able to succeed conducting whatever it is up to a whatever pass-fail rate that they have selected, that means it can be implemented in other cities. So yeah, we definitely can't put a blind eye into this, because it's a precedent. This is literally setting up a precedent for the government to just deploy all these military folks throughout the city. It's gonna happen if, groups like 5051 movement don't rise up, if we are just staying silent because it's not happening in your city yet. Very frustrating in a perspective of, there's a thing called pattern of trends, life, and how people move. And that also applies to the government. If you actually look into like certain aspects of the government and you examine how they have been functioning and moving throughout, I guess, the decades, you can see what the responses are. Not that hard to find. So basically with this, it's like, yo, we don't need a scene, the same exact scene that we saw with the history at Tiananmen Square. So why are we trying to recreate this? Is this just so that the power of the government can be exploited to just follow? I don't know. I don't think that's the right answer. But here's the fun part I'll move into now. And this is one of, I guess, I want to say I am the expert of it, but I was given the opportunity to learn about it. I was able to, at one point in my life, analyze, or at one point in my life, I was able to live through an event of a Black Swan. So what is a Black Swan? First and foremost, it's an event when the system gets blindsided. It is a very rare, massive, and rewriting the rules. You don't predict it. Honestly, it is damn hard to predict or give, I guess, a future analysis of, hey, you should expect X, Y, and Z. But you can brace for the fact that something can lead into another. You just don't know in what form it's going to come. So with that said, we're looking at a Black Swan. With the Black Swan event, three things. Once again, you're looking for the unpredictability, massive impact, and retrospective certainty. So taking that into the real life events that we have witnessed currently, let's start with the, I guess, in the 2000, right? The 9/11, we have seen it. Nobody expected, but it happened. And then what happened after that? It reshaped the defense in the United States. 2008, the financial crisis. What happened? The bubble collapsed, and what happened to everyone else in the financial sector? Yeah. And then as most recent to the COVID-19, this one I can go off tangent later on to talk about when it actually really did happen. But we're going to stick to 2019 COVID pandemic. We never expected one city to shut down the entire planet. But that's what happened, right? Black Swan. Unexpected. It was a massive impact. And it was something that we have to brace for. So going into this cascading failure model. So with this, there isn't really a textbook written out there that says, hey, so-and-so has a model out there. So instead, what I did was I combined what I know, what I learned, and what I understand, and created this 8 stages of cascading failure model, which eventually ties into like the Black Swan event. So going over the first 8, there's a spark. And there's a fuel to it. A trigger that operates as well. And you have some kind of operational breakdown that's occurring. With the local uprising, which can be like a grassroots, something small. And then you have military respond to this. And then there's a recovery failure. So in terms of like where I got these ideas, I referred it to how they integrated. So if we're looking at sociology, which falls under my branch of umbrella on anthropology, and then if we're looking at the political crisis escalation ladder, so that one considered like the FEMA. And for EMT purposes, I had a little bit of training of operational procedure. So I'm taking a couple of those kind of information. Indication and warning is something that I performed under. So I took a little bit of that on the open source aspect. Whatever you can research online, that's what I gather. Basically, combining all that, this is how I created the 8 steps failure of cascading failure module. So overall, what we're looking at is a rare but system-breaking synergy. Oof. Let's go on to the next one. With this idea, I reflected back to the LA riot of 1992 and then consider, hey, what is it that we might be expecting in the modern LA system right now of a possible Black Swan? And in that aspect, here's the 8 that I have broken down. So with the spark, continuized military ICE raids and aggressive enforcement have kept the public outraged, and outraged damn right, because it's not stopping. It's like at least there's one article about ICE popping up in any form of social networks right now. So yeah, it's not dying out. The fuel that's burning into this is the persistent cuts of Medi-Cal, wildfire prevention, and education. Education continues weakening infrastructure and social resilience behind the scenes. So especially since we're talking about Southern California and the wildfire, that is a big hitter here that we should be expecting. But I'm not sure how many people are actually thinking about this. At least from my perspective and understanding and living in Cali, this is what I think the fuels are. And going into the stage 3, we're looking at now trigger, right? For trigger, we're, I guess the most recent one will be Judge Breyer's ruling of declared that June deployment is illegal under the Passe Comitatus Act. I don't know if I pronounced that, but let's roll with it. As of right now, that ruling has been, it's on, I guess, limbo, right? Because we haven't come to a full conclusion yet. And then going to the next one, the breakdown, the operational breakdown, the deployment continue amongst this crazy confusion that's happening. It is straining the civil military norms and organization clarity in California. Why? well, we'll kind of know why as we continue on. So let's look into localized uprising during the Labor Day, so this past weekend. We had a city-wide rallies like workers over billionaires. So this is like echoing into no king, no oligarch. We are still demanding diverse resistance to these enforcement tactics and economic disparity. Step 6, we're now looking at the grassroots defense. It has been increasing in terms of, yes, there are peaceful protests, there are coordination that's occurring amongst unions, different types of unions, there are advocacy groups, and there are labor coalitions that are trying to still take action to do the right legally. Here, while normal citizens are acting legally, Judge Breyer trying to do the right thing, it has been once again in limbo status. So why is it that the government is able to do illegal stuff and then later call it, oh, that was fine, we'll forgive them, whereas the normal everyday average Joe citizen are going about their way to fight the system legally, and we are continuously getting pushed. Let's go to stage 7, militarized response. About 300 National Guards are still currently present in Los Angeles. We'll see how long that lasts, because people that are mobilized, right, meaning even with the National Guard, since they are now called upon, it means that the taxpayer monies are going into that channel to provide per diems, provide housing, provide basically income as well, right? And for the spouses that are married and separated, they get extra bonus up there too if it's more than 30 days. With that in mind, guys, these are some of the aspects of, I guess, normal citizens don't really think about or know about, is that once the military are being deployed in this kind of manner of sense, your money is getting spent in such thing like this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people did not vote for something like this to happen. And lastly, let's look into recovery failure, economic and reputational damages that are considered conditional lingers. I mentioned increase of ICE has been affecting small businesses, has been affecting businesses nearby. This is what's happening right now, is we have small businesses, family-owned businesses, civic group. We are being told, hey, long-term instability and civic disengagement is going to come if this trajectory of events keep on happening. And it seems like it doesn't want to slow down. Now let's take it into a national level of, what is the anonymity of the modern national-wide Black Swan? So once again, taking into my 8 cascading failure model, let's look at it. The first one will be that spark, the symbolic injustice. What is there? So going back to that 50-51 movement group, there was a protest of no king protest spread across 50 states. And it was sparked at the government authoritarian crackdowns, along with many other issues that we have been voicing up as people, as civilian, and as our right to voice. The other thing that we're looking at under the spark is the immigration rate. So basically we're talking about ICE movements throughout cities, especially the LA for California. We have seen that. And now we may be experiencing this in Chicago coming soon, right? And cities such as New York City as well has been affected by this craziness that's happening. And basically with this, it's so that the frame it in a sense that show of power under government, show of power of, the one of the branches of the government. And in one sense, it very much for everyday citizen look like it's an abuse of power. So why does this matter, right? Because it confirms a legitimacy crisis between citizens versus government. And that is never good news. You never want your people to be up and against your government. And that's basically what we're seeing with the spark. So with stage 2 now, let's look at the underlying fuel, the structural neglect that's been happening. There was a proposed to 1 trillion cuts to Medicaid and SNAP, which threatened health and food access for millions. So this is in a sense, target to those very rich people and their friends, looking out for friends, which is very similar to what I have seen in the military, where looking out for yourself because no one else is going to look it out for your development in the government or the military. And we have definitely seen infrastructure fatigue, especially with the wildfire prevention cuts in California. This is going to eventually and will continue to degrade utilities, the hospital closure, and the rural states, as well as nobody can expect where the next fire is going to happen. But once we have a huge ass fire again, the way that we had it this year with California, and that happens to spread out between different states, now we're looking at resources of which state or what fire department, which emergency response team are going to go where, making amazing life choices with the people that are currently in the position that they are at. And why does this matter? Widespread fragility primes the population to interpret sparks as systematic injustice. So let me tie that together. So between sparks and fuel events, that is basically showing the population to understand that as a injustice. That's hard. So going into stage 3 under the national-wide possible Black Swan, 2 things to look at is trigger of policy or a shock. This event, I believe it was back in April 2025, where one person in a White House called as Liberation Day. Tariff sparked a stock market crash and consumer costs spiked. And honestly, nobody likes anything going higher than where it used to be. We have that issue. And that's not it, right? Because one is not enough. So there was a short time period of SNAP and Medicaid freezes in multiple states, threatening lifeline benefits. And with that, I understand that feeling. Because any amount of money, even if it's free, it's been utilized for a good cause for people who are in need of that money. So cutting, freezing, any of that, they're just throwing a wrench into a system that's already slowed. It's already broken. Why are you breaking it further? Why does this all matter, right? These are the inflection point of everyday family. So when we're talking about that bell curve in math, science, I guess in any aspect that you want to look at, we're looking at that fat chunk of that bell curve. That is where most likely going to be the middle class in America. As being part of a middle class myself, that experience, well, yeah, I feel it. And we're rolling with the punches, just the way the military has taught fucking me how to do. You just go with it. And it fucking sucks. And no, people should really not go with it because it's not good for their mental health. Escalated verdicts, election, or policy events add to stage 2, the fueling. For stage 4, now we're looking at operational breakdowns. This, I'm going to just toss some facts and then let me know what you guys think. Because with operational breakdown, looking into the hospitals, they are projected to lose about $24 billion per year losses under Medicaid cuts, which in a sense, possible closure of risk for safety procedures or safety access to the facilities that the people who are sick and ill and actually need those assistance. And in terms of federal wildfire, staffing has dropped 5,000 plus positions. And it is a slow national response capacity. With the skeleton crew, people in power are just saying, let's utilize that skeleton crew until there's no tomorrow for them. I've experienced that. I worked in that environment before, so I understand it. Having to shoulder so many responses and burdens to push throughout that day. So why does this event matter? We have the government systems still functioning, right? I said skeleton crew for a reason, but it is visibly weakened and under pressure. Skeleton crew operating any kind of project system operation with a skeleton crew, is it doable? Yes, it is doable. But at the back end, what are you expecting? You're literally damaging you're killing off your people. Not the best way to present yourself. Now let's go down to uprising stage 5. In June 2025, LA specific, we had a protest escalated into vandalism and clashes with authorities, right? I guess it is still safe to say, right? There's economic blackouts, which is organized spending boycotts across U.S. Metro areas. To name few, initially there was lots of Target boycott, to the point where I believe one of the exec in Target eventually had to go bye-bye and then replace someone else. So for this, we're looking at under status here. It's emergent and active in some. So not yet, we have not seen a nationwide riots, but it is a early stage resistance movement that are visible throughout different pockets of the states and the cities. Stage 6 now, we are looking at the grassroots movement. This is where, in a sense, you can consider people are so fucking exhausted with all the shit that's happening. They're like, okay, let's do something about it. And small group of people coming together, creating a cohesion amongst each other and understanding we are frustrated. As such, the No King movement, and that movement has been pushed under many different aspects of it, because for that we're not just talking about immigration right, we're also talking about labor unions, we're also talking about the LGBTQ plus and students, in terms of students group of higher education. Why does this matter? Social capitals being mobilized, that's why it matters. There we go. It's not armed yet. Like, we are not armed for this, but it is a well-spread resistant network that is being embodied throughout different city networks, different groups and coalition groups. For the military response to the stage 7, again, we're looking at cascading failure. We are looking at federalized National Guard deployments in LA and Chicago, despite the state opposition. Why does this matter, right? Currently, it is not full nationwide militarization, thank God. That's gonna be another shit show if we do come to that point, but it is a precedent setting situation. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, with the LA, with Chicago, we don't want this kind of precedence. I mean, think about the trauma. Now let's look at your generation and the generation that is coming after you. Think about the trauma that you're going to instill on these innocent young people, children, the newborn. Is this truly the image that you as a human being, you as a citizen in the United States, you as a person who swore an oath to protect the Constitution and their people, is this what you're trying to portray yourself as? Because honestly, no, hell no. This is not a thing that I believe in the first world country. I guess this is opinionated now. Consider the world's greatest fighting forces, question mark, is setting an example of. Because this is definitely not what I swore the Constitution oath to. This is not the image or the legacy that I would like to pass on, because what an embarrassment. And then lastly, let's look at the last stage. The last stage is the recovery failure. So once again, I did mention as an EMT, I had the privilege to study a little bit about FEMA responses. And even with the military side, we did learn about different chemical warfare response and how to, protect oneself. So recovery failure, we're looking at aids being scaled back, leaving wildfire and flood survivors stranded. Shout out to the American Red Cross and Red Crosses across the countries. It's going to be really hard just to rely on those nonprofit organizations. So government, state, federal, city, you guys need to actually think about your people instead of calculating the amount of money that's currently going into your bank. All right, so why does this matter? Nothing gets fixed. That's going to be your public's trust. If people in power are not actively trying to stand with your people, you're going to lose your public trust. And that's going to be the idea of nothing gets fixed perception. And that is definitely not what we should strive for, right? So moving on, this will be now a totally different topic that is also semi-related, a coup. So earlier in the beginning, I started off saying I have seen it, witnessed it, lived it, and all that fun thing, right? So going up with the 8 stages of cascading failures model that I created, I've employed that into 2 most recent coups that we have witnessed, going back into 2022 January and July 2023. 2 different countries within very close proximity to each other, and here are some lessons that were taught, but the leadership refused to listen. Why do I phrase it like that? Given my previous job, I was ecstatic to talk about this kind of topic on a different level. However, their attitude as a commanders were very much ignorant. It was just nod and smile, move on, instead of actually taking into consideration thoughts and preparing. I'll put it generously in that term. So for myself, I woke up on January, what was that, 22 or 23? And of 2022. And I literally saw Burkina Faso's coup happen on a live timestamps after timestamps after timestamps. And it was wild. And lessons such as that makes you think about, now for me it's a history, to think and preserve and understand what was it that actually happened that led to a coup, in a successful coup, matter of fact, for Burkina Faso in 2022. So like trying to implement that concept, idea, pattern to what's happening with our government, that's another level of shit show. But yeah, it's not fun, especially when you keep on telling people in power that has the power to do the right thing, ignoring you. And this is like one of many points that had happened to me during my time in the military, because I was a enlisted personnel and not an officer, being looked over so many times. So whenever it comes to like topics such as this, oh god, it makes my blood boil to the point like it just comes like steam coming out of my fucking ear. Because a righteous person with actual brain will look into these things and consider themselves, oh hey, there's something weird, oddity is going on, let me look into it. And then if there's someone in the chain of command, can't say leadership, because in order for me to call somebody a leader has to have my respect as a leader. But since they don't, I'm calling them chain of command. Since the chain of command is so ignorant with their own power and their status, you get bypassed a lot. They'll write you off as being the extreme end. So this is just a lot of sadness that happened. And unfortunately, this is one of the side effects that you see as a real living veteran, having to deal with such event like this and having to see how some of them can very closely be related to current event here in the United States. Yes, I'm comparing the third world's country to the current first world problem that we are having, because in a sense of humanity, it's a pattern. It's definitely a pattern that we're seeing. What is my likely assessment of this happening? It's low. To be honest, it's a low likely assessment. But even through the low likely assessment, you want to understand and know about it. Why? Because of how it fits into cascading. Because there's always a precursor that leads into an event. It can be long as 10 years. It can be decades old of event that trigger down. So like, for example, the Arab Spring of 2011, we're in 2025. So something that happened back then still has a huge impact of what's happening now. And that buildup in one shape or form, whether it be under financial government, whether it be under health government or health department, or whether it be under educational, we're gonna see something. And usually if you see something, that means it's not going to be a good thing that's coming. And that is the tragic factor about all this, which is why I guess I'm at the end of the slide, which is why it is so damn fucking important for people to just not dismiss this as, oh, it ain't my problem, but to actually start looking at these articles, look at these news articles that are not biased in one aspect, or look at the news article that are freaking biased, to find out what it is that they're trying to hide from you, to understand what it is that they are trying to portray themselves. Because sometimes if they are overly portraying certain aspects of it, then it is revealing that they're trying to hide the opposite of that, which can be a lot easier in one terms when you're trying to look into pattern. So with that, check my disclaimer. Everything I'm saying is just coming from my opinion. And if you like something similar to this, drop a comment, and I will try to give the best answers that I can without breaching my security, breaching the NDA. And yeah, let's see what kind of shit show that we are expected next week with the 24th year of 9/11. If you haven't done yet, please hit subscribe. I'll be back sometime next week. I don't know how many videos I can upload because all these videos are pending on my mental health. With that, see you guys on the next video. This is Luna signing off. Thank you.